Hello everybody, I'm Sara Samadzadeh. I'm from Iran. I'm originally from Iran, and I came to Germany about 1.5 years ago. I do a postdoc research fellowship in Germany with under supervision of Professor Rickman and Professor Morschnick. We are working on a very big project that's called the Novel Window into the Brain, and we have 3 posters here in this conference. I wanted to tell you a little bit about this whole project, a novel window into the brain. The whole idea was to measure and also to see through whole visual pathway dysfunction in multiple sclerosis and related disorder like NMOSD. And we wanted to compare 3 modalities at first: Pupillometry, VEP, and OCT. But the first goal was to see the role and also the potential usefulness of pupillometry at this new and novel device in multiple sclerosis. As you can, in the first poster, I want to talk about a little bit about the whole project. And also pupillometry. Pupillometry is a new and novel devices that can quantify the pupil reflexes and pupil function. It's already used in neurointensive care for the neurotrauma and so on, but it is the first time also, it's the first research in multiple sclerosis. And we're trying to find out that is it useful in multiple sclerosis and in pupillar dysfunction, and also in MS, and maybe in other studies in NMOSD as well. And also after that, we want to see is it useful to compare treat subgroups and subcategories in multiple sclerosis. And after that, we wanted to see that is it a correlation between the change of these parameters and also EDSS and MFIS, or fatigue severity. So in the first slide, in the first poster, we compared these whole parameters, pupillometry parameters, in MS, multiple sclerosis patients. We see the alteration and changes in all of the parameters, but we didn't categorize a multiple sclerosis patient in any special particular subcategories. We wanted to see that is it any changes or not, because it's a kind of pilot study for these devices for MS patients. And okay, actually we did see the changes in all parameters somehow. And in the first model, or in the second model and second category, we go through details, and we categorize this patient into 4 categories. In patients with history of optic neuritis in both eyes, and in patients without history of optic neuritis in both eyes, and in patients with history of optic neuritis in only one eye. We call it fellow ON, and also the healthy eye, we call it the actually fellow eye. And we compared these 4 groups, and we see that there is a degree of changes and alteration in pupillometry parameters, and we can somehow see the patterns between these 4 groups. And in the third part, we're trying to find out the correlation between these pupillometry parameters and EDSS, and also MFIS question or fatigue score. It's a little hard because we should purify the data. The optic neuritis background is so important, and also the EDSS degree, and also the aging process is so important. But generally, in this pilot study, we see that there is a correlation between the MFIS scoring and also EDSS degree. But we should definitely because in this project till now we have 182 patients are MS patients, but we should increase the sample size to get a better result. In second poster, continuously we had this question that is there any relation or correlation between the pupillometry parameters and also VEP latency or VEP amplitude, because we wanted to see that can we use the pupillometry, these easy handheld devices, as a as a kind of device instead of VEP, because it takes only 2 to 3 minutes to do whole the process, but VEP takes 30 to 45 minutes, and so it's really a good maybe good replacement for VEP. So at the first stage we had the our MS patient without history of optic neuritis, with VEP latency positive, and we see the pupillometry parameters result, and we saw that okay, we have the changes and alteration in pupillometry parameters that had a correlation with latency. And in the second part, we thought that okay, we can do it in a VEP negative patients in a patients without history of optic neuritis, and also negative in VEP latency. And is there any alteration and also changes in pupillometry parameters or not? And is these two factors dependent or independent? So we saw that okay, yeah, we have a positive result in patient without history of optic neuritis, negative VEP latency. We had a lot of a trend, also a trend of change in pupillometry dysfunction, and in no history of optic neuritis as well, and no history of ophthalmological disorder, and also optic nerve damage and so on. And so that was very nice, because in the first part we predict with 2 and 3 parameters, with 2 and 3 parameters of pupillometry and EDSS, somehow the result of VEP latency. So we hope that we could do it in maybe in a little bit bigger sample size, get a better results, and we actually can predict the VEP latency. And in the second part, we see that yeah, these two factors is independent, and in MS patient, there are a lot of patients that have no history of optic neuritis, and have no eye problem, but pupillary dysfunction is still exists. In the third poster, we figured out, okay, now is a good time and place to maybe compare our MS patient and an MS patient with NMOSD patient, because it's somehow the both disorders has some kind of optic neuritis, and also optic nerve damage and eye problem in the background and in attacks. So we're trying to compare these pupillometry parameters in these two types. And the result was so promising, because we saw that the pattern and change and degree of the degree of change and alteration in these two categories, and also because the degree of severity of pupillary dysfunction and also eye problem in NMOSD, we could do some kind of confounding factors study in this one, and we see that aging process and somehow the EDSS and severity of this disease are something that we should consider as a confounding factors, and to purify the further study, and also for our team or for other colleagues to maybe do it again, or to help us to do it again, we should consider these two factors, and also the eye problem and ophthalmological disorders related to age. We should exclude it also, or we should somehow found some solution for excluding all these factors. So I want to say a little bit about myself. My mother is a neurologist in Iran, so I somehow grew up with MS patient with neurologic disorders, and somehow when I think about all the experience in my childhood, I remembered about all the MS patients without any medications, proper medications, and in these 2 decades, a lot of new medication and revolution, I think, have happened for MS patients particularly, and also in other diseases in neurology. So these are something that motivated me to come to the neurology, to maybe after my, it's not a kind of family business, but somehow it's motivated me to come to maybe moved out or came to European countries like Germany to maybe follow my dreams here, to continue my obsession, my passion in neurology, without a limitation that I had in my country, and also to maybe see around and see other researchers, young researchers and professors around Europe and also around the world, to maybe widen my horizon to a new era in neurology. And so I'm looking forward to do the neurology residency in Germany, hope so, and also maybe PhD in neuroscience and immunology someday. But I really don't know where, but I really open to any maybe a country in Europe, because I love to travel. I love to work in different countries with different researchers and different colleagues. So that's my future, I think. But it's so hard to be a girl from Middle East, but I'm proud that till now I think till now I did well, and I can hopefully do better in the future. Thank you so much.